A single dad found a crying nurse with her baby in the rain that Tuesday night. Unaware she'd lost everything but hope. What he didn't know was that saving her would be the very thing that saved him. This is the story of how one decision on the worst night of two people's lives became the beginning of everything. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you tuning in from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. The rain hammered like bullets against the windshield. Liam Carter squinted through the downpour, his calloused brown hands gripping the steering wheel as lightning cracked the Washington state sky wide open. 11:30 on a Tuesday. 14-hour shift. Bone-tired, didn't even begin to cover it. That's when his headlights caught them. Two figures huddled beneath a bus shelter. A black woman clutching a child, both soaked through. Something about the way she held that little girl made Liam's foot hit the brake before his brain could talk him out of it. He learned long ago not to ignore that gut feeling. Liam pulled over and stepped into the storm. Rain soaked through his jacket instantly. As he got closer, he could see her face clearly under the shelter's dim light. Young, maybe 30, with beautiful dark brown skin and natural curls plastered against her cheeks. But it was her eyes that stopped him cold. Pure desperation. "Ma'am," Liam called over the thunder. "Are you all right?" She looked up, tears mixed with rainwater on her face. In her arms, a little girl with the same warm brown skin and wide, frightened eyes whimpered softly. "We're fine." Her voice cracked on the lie. "Thank you." She was wearing scrubs under a thin jacket. A nurse, clearly. "You're both going to get hypothermia out here," Liam said gently, his deep voice calm despite the storm. "I've got a son at home with a sitter. I'm heading back now. Can I give you a ride somewhere? Hospital? Police station?" The woman's face crumbled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "I don't..." She could barely get the words out. "I don't have anywhere to go." 6 words that hung in the air like a confession. Liam felt something shift in his chest. He knew that look. He'd worn it himself once. "Come on," he said quietly. "Let's get you both out of this rain." 20 minutes later, Liam was unlocking his front door, ushering the shivering woman and child inside his modest 2-bedroom rental. His neighbor, Mrs. Alvarez, a kind Latina woman in her 60s who'd been watching Eli, gathered her things quickly when he explained there was an emergency. "You're a good man, Liam," she whispered on her way out. "Your wife would be proud." "Let me get you towels," Liam said, already moving. "And some dry clothes. I'll make tea." The woman stood frozen in his entryway, still holding her daughter like she couldn't quite believe this was happening. "I'm Nora Bennett. This is Sophie." "Liam Carter. Nice to meet you. Wish it were under better circumstances." He handed her towels and one of his flannel shirts. "Bathrooms down the hall. Take your time." While Nora changed, Liam checked on his 7-year-old son, Eli, finding him asleep with a comic book on his chest, his dark skin peaceful in sleep. He smiled despite his exhaustion, adjusting the blanket around his boy, then headed to the kitchen to put the kettle on. When Nora emerged 15 minutes later, Sophie wrapped in a towel and wearing one of Eli's old shirts, she looked marginally better. Her natural hair was wrapped in one of Liam's towels, but her eyes still carried that haunted look. "Sit," Liam said, gesturing to the kitchen table. His own close-cropped hair was still damp from the rain. "You don't have to tell me anything, but if you want to talk..." Nora sank into the chair. Sophie curled in her lap, finally asleep. She stared at the tea for a long moment, her slender fingers wrapped around the warm mug. Then, slowly, it all came out. I've been a nurse at Silver Creek Medical Center for 6 years, she said quietly. Single mom since Sophie was born. Her father left when he found out I was pregnant. Said he wasn't ready for kids like I was. She laughed bitterly, like anyone's ever really ready. Liam stayed silent, just listening, his steady presence encouraging. 6 weeks ago, the hospital got bought out. Corporate restructuring. They let go of 15 nurses, including me. Replaced us with cheaper, less experienced staff. Her hands trembled around the cup. Just like that. 6 years of dedication, of double shifts, of missing Sophie's milestones because I was caring for other people's families. None of it mattered. That's it? Liam asked, his jaw tightening. That's it. Nora's voice went hollow. I searched everywhere for another job, but word spreads fast in nursing. Everyone assumed the worst about us. My savings disappeared. Sophie has asthma. Her medication isn't cheap. Yesterday I couldn't make rent. My landlord gave me until today. She stopped, swallowing hard. I called everyone I knew. My parents passed away years ago. No siblings. And my friends. She shook her head. You learn who your real friends are when you're desperate. Most of them stopped returning my calls after the second week. I spent today selling whatever I could. It wasn't enough. By evening, my stuff was on the sidewalk. Locks changed. I stood there watching strangers pick through my life like it was a yard sale. Where are your belongings now? Liam asked carefully. Gone. I took what I could carry in 2 bags. Some clothes, Sophie's inhaler, my nursing credentials, a few photos. Everything else. Her composure cracked. My grandmother's quilt, Sophie's baby book, all gone. I called 4 shelters, all full. I didn't know where else to go, so I just sat there in the rain, trying to figure out how I'd explain to my 4-year-old daughter that we didn't have a home anymore. Liam felt his throat tighten. He knew something about that kind of desperation, that feeling of the world closing in with no way out. You'll stay here, he said quietly. Nora's head snapped up. What? No, I couldn't. You'll stay here, Liam repeated, firmer this time. I've got a spare room. Well, more of an office with a futon, but it's warm and dry, at least until you get back on your feet. You don't even know me, Nora protested. I'm a complete stranger. For all you know, I could be lying. I could be dangerous. I know you're a mother who'd rather sit in freezing rain than put your child in danger, Liam said steadily. I know you're a nurse who got screwed by corporate greed, and I know what it's like to need help and have nowhere to turn. His voice softened. I can't solve all your problems, but I can give you a safe place to sleep tonight. The rest we'll figure out tomorrow. Nora put her face in her hands, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. Liam slid a box of tissues across the table and gave her space, understanding that sometimes people need to let the emotion out. When she finally looked up, her eyes were red, but searching. Why are you doing this? Nobody just helps strangers anymore. Liam was quiet for a moment. His gaze drifted toward the darkened hallway where his son slept. 4 years ago, he began slowly. My wife died. Cancer, ovarian. By the time they found it, it was stage 4. Nora's hand moved instinctively across the table. We tried everything. Chemo, radiation, experimental treatments we couldn't afford. We sold everything, drained our savings, maxed out credit cards, took loans against the house. The memory still felt sharp, like broken glass in his chest. We fought for 18 months. She fought so hard, but she still left us. I'm so sorry, Nora whispered. I had a 3-year-old who barely understood why Mommy wasn't coming home. And I had a mountain of debt that took 2 years to crawl out from under. Liam's voice went rough. Lost the house, lost most of our stuff, had to start completely over. I took the first job I could get. Construction, hard labor, long hours. Moved us into this rental. It's not much, but it's ours. He paused, the weight of those years pressing down. And I just shut down. I wasn't living. I was existing, going through the motions, wake up, get Eli ready, drop him at daycare, work until I couldn't stand, pick him up, feed him, put him to bed. Repeat. For how long? Nora asked gently. Too long. Liam met her eyes. I locked myself away from everyone. Friends stopped calling eventually. Families back east. They offered to take Eli for a while, said I needed time to grieve. But I couldn't let him go. He was all I had left of her. I had to be there for him. Had to try to be both parents, even though I was barely keeping myself together. He leaned forward slightly. Some days I didn't know how I was going to make it through. I'd sit in my truck on my lunch break and just exist. No thoughts, no feelings, just breathing. But there was no one else. No one to complain to, no one to hand him off to when it got too hard. So I just kept going, one foot in front of the other. What changed? Nora asked. Nothing changed. Liam's laugh was hollow. Not really. I'm still going through the motions most days, still trying to figure out how to be enough for him. But tonight, seeing you and Sophie out there. He shook his head. I saw us 4 years ago, drowning and desperate, invisible to everyone passing by. He squeezed her hand. Maybe the only thing that gives meaning to what we went through is if we use it to help someone else going through the same thing. No one was there for us when we needed it. Maybe I can be that person for you. Fresh tears rolled down Nora's cheeks, but this time she was smiling through them. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. I think I do, Liam said softly. Get some rest. We'll figure out tomorrow when it comes. Morning light crept through the windows. Liam woke to an excited voice cutting through his exhaustion. Dad, Dad, there's a girl in the living room. He stumbled out of his bedroom to find Eli standing in the doorway, his dark eyes wide, staring at Sophie curled up on the futon, still asleep. Buddy, keep it down, Liam whispered, steering him toward the kitchen. We have guests, let me explain. Over breakfast, as Liam made pancakes, his only specialty, if it could be called that, he told Eli an age-appropriate version of the night before. His son listened with that serious expression he got when processing something important. So they're staying with us? Eli asked. For a little while? Yeah, I need you to be on your best behavior, okay? Sophie's been through a lot. Eli nodded solemnly. Then he said something that made Liam's chest tighten. Like we did when Mommy got sick? Liam pulled his son into a tight hug. Eli rarely talked about those days. He'd been so young, barely understanding what was happening. Yeah, buddy, kinda like that. Then we should help them, Eli said matter-of-factly. Because nobody helped us, and it was really hard. I remember being scared a lot. The wisdom in those simple words nearly broke Liam. You're right, he managed. We should help them. Nora appeared in the doorway, Sophie on her hip, looking uncertain. I'm so sorry. We didn't mean to impose. If this is too much, pancakes, Liam interrupted, gesturing to the table. Fair warning, they're not gourmet, but they're edible, usually. Over breakfast, The two children watched each other with cautious curiosity. Sophie, once she warmed up, proved to be a chatterbox despite her circumstances. "My bunny got lost," she told Eli sadly, her bottom lip trembling. "Mr. Flopkins, he was my favorite. Grandma made him for me before she went to heaven." "We can make you a new one," Eli declared with the confidence of a 7-year-old who just had a brilliant idea. "Dad taught me how to sew buttons after she went away. We could probably figure out a rabbit. Maybe not as good as your grandma's, but it would be yours." The look Nora gave Liam over the children's heads was one of profound gratitude mixed with disbelief that such kindness existed. Days turned into weeks. An unexpected routine formed. Liam left early for construction sites, his strong frame perfect for the demanding work. Nora got the children breakfast and walked them to the nearby elementary school. Eli had insisted Sophie should come to his school, and Liam had managed to arrange temporary enrollment, calling in favors and explaining the situation to a sympathetic principal. Nora spent her days job hunting, making calls, filling out applications, slowly rebuilding her life, piece by piece. It was exhausting and often discouraging, but she kept going. Liam would come home to find dinner cooking and the house filled with something it hadn't held in 4 years. Laughter. For the first time since his wife died, Liam found himself actually looking forward to coming home. The silence that had suffocated him for so long had been replaced by noise, conversation, life. He caught himself smiling without forcing it, humming along to the radio, engaging with Eli about his day instead of giving automatic responses. 4 weeks in, Nora got a call back from a clinic on the outskirts of town. 3 days later, she had a job offer. "I start Monday," she told Liam that evening over their now ritual tea. "The kids were in bed. The pay is decent. In a month, I should have enough saved for first and last month's rent somewhere." "Oh." Liam felt something sink in his stomach. "That's great, really. I'm happy for you." Nora studied him carefully, her intelligent eyes seeing more than he intended to show. "Unless you don't want us to leave?" "I don't want you to leave." The words came out before he could stop them. These past 4 weeks, this house has felt like a home again instead of just a place Eli and I exist in. I hear myself laughing, real laughing. I forgot what that felt like. "Then we'll stay," Nora said softly. "I'll pay rent. We'll split utilities. We'll figure it out as we go." Liam nodded, not trusting his voice. Something was shifting between them, but neither was ready to name it yet. Months passed. Fall turned to winter, then spring. Nora's presence transformed the house slowly. She painted Sophie's room a soft lavender. She organized the kitchen in a way that actually made sense. She brought home flowers and put them in the window. She hung photos on the walls that had been bare for years. But more than that, she brought back pieces of Liam he thought had died with his wife. He found himself engaging in real conversations again, laughing at stupid jokes, playing board games with the kids instead of just going through the motions. He started noticing things again, the way the morning light hit the kitchen, the sound of rain on the roof, the smell of coffee brewing. Eli blossomed under the attention. His quiet sadness lifted. He talked more, smiled more, started bringing home better grades. His teacher commented on the positive change, noting he seemed happier, more confident. And Sophie, shy at first, became the spark plug of their little household, bossing Eli around with the confidence of someone who finally felt safe. Late at night, after the kids were asleep, Liam and Nora would sit on the porch with tea and talk about everything. Her nursing shifts and the patients she helped, his projects at work and the guys on his crew. the kids' latest antics and their dreams for the future. But underneath it all was something neither of them acknowledged: a current, an awareness. One night, their hands nearly touched on the armrest. Both pulled back quickly, the moment charged with unspoken tension. "We should probably," Nora started. "Yeah," Liam agreed. "For the kids." Neither said what they were both thinking. What if we mess this up? What if we ruin what we've built? Sophie's 8th birthday came in September, nearly a year after that rainy night. They threw a party in the backyard, small, just a few kids from school. Sophie had spent the morning making Eli a construction paper crown, declaring him the birthday king. Liam watched them play together, Sophie's braided hair next to Eli's close-cropped head, both their faces lit with joy, and felt his throat tighten with emotion he'd been holding back for months. Nora came to stand beside him, her natural hair styled in beautiful twists. "They're good together," she said softly. "Yeah," Liam agreed. "They are." A long silence stretched between them. Then Nora said, so quietly he almost didn't hear it, "I don't want to be just friends anymore." Liam's heart stopped. He turned to look at her. Really look at her. At this woman who'd stumbled into his life, broken and desperate, who'd slowly put herself back together while helping him do the same. "I've been waiting a year to hear you say that," he admitted. Nora's eyes filled with tears. "I was so scared. Scared of ruining this. Scared of losing you and Eli if this doesn't work. Scared that I'm not enough after everything you've been through." Liam kissed her, gentle, careful, full of all the feelings he'd been suppressing for months. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "We take this slow," Nora said. "For them. For us." "Slow," Liam agreed. "I can do slow." Slow turned out to be harder than they thought. Dating while living together with two kids watching their every move required strategy. Movie nights became dates only after the kids were asleep. Stolen kisses in the kitchen, held hands under the dinner table. They told the kids 3 months into their relationship, sitting them down seriously. "So," Liam started awkwardly, "Nora and I—" "Your boyfriend and girlfriend now?" Sophie announced happily. "Finally." "We've known for like forever, Dad." Eli rolled his eyes. "You smile different when you look at her." Apparently, they'd been less subtle than they thought. The first year of dating brought challenges they hadn't anticipated. Nora got a bad cold that landed her in bed for a week. Liam panicked, completely shut down emotionally. The fear of losing someone else he loved came roaring back with a vengeance. Nora noticed immediately. "Hey," she said gently when he brought her soup, his hands shaking slightly. "I'm okay. It's just a cold. I'm not going anywhere." "I know that," Liam said, but his voice betrayed him. "You're scared." Nora took his hand. "Liam, look at me. I understand. But you can't protect yourself from loss by shutting down every time something happens. We have to talk about these things. I need you to tell me when you're scared instead of pulling away." It was the first of many difficult conversations. Learning to communicate fears. Learning to be vulnerable. Learning that love after loss meant facing those fears together instead of alone. Nora had her own struggles. When money got tight one month, she insisted on taking extra shifts, pushing herself to exhaustion. "I can't be dependent on you," she said when Liam confronted her. "I can't be that woman who needs to be rescued. I won't be a burden." "You're not," Liam said firmly. "We're partners. That means we carry things together. You don't have to prove anything to me, Nora. You've already proven everything." They learned slowly, painfully, beautifully. They learned to fight fair, to apologize, to forgive, to lean on each other without losing themselves. The second year of dating felt different, easier. The sharp edges of their individual trauma had been worn smooth by patience and time. They celebrated holidays together. Real celebrations, not just going through the motions. Halloween costumes, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas morning with too many presents and not enough coffee. They built traditions, Friday movie nights, Sunday morning pancakes, Wednesday evening walks around the neighborhood where the kids raced ahead and Liam and Nora held hands. Eli, now 10, had become Sophie's fierce protector at school, standing up to bullies and walking her to class. Sophie, now 8, had Eli wrapped around her little finger, convincing him to play dolls and have tea parties. One evening, as they cleaned up after dinner, Sophie asked casually, "When are you guys getting married for real?" Nora nearly dropped the plate she was holding. "We haven't really talked about that yet, sweetie," she said carefully. "But you love each other, right? And we're already a family. So when do we make it official? Like on TV?" That night on their porch, their place for important conversations, Liam brought it up. "Are we ready for that? Marriage?" Nora was quiet for a long moment. "I think I am. I think I've been ready for a while. But only if you are. Only if we're both sure. I won't pressure you." Liam thought about the past 3 years. About the woman who'd shown up in his life with nothing. About how she'd helped him become a man who could actually feel again. About the family they'd built from broken pieces. "I'm sure. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." 3 months later, on a Saturday afternoon, Liam stood in his backyard, watching Eli and Sophie set up an elaborate obstacle course with pool noodles and cardboard boxes. The ring in his pocket felt heavy. He'd been carrying it for a week, waiting for the perfect moment. But watching Nora laugh as Sophie declared herself supreme commander of the backyard kingdom, Liam realized there was no perfect moment. It was just this. Just them. Just now. "Hey, Supreme Commander, can you come here? You too, Eli." The kids ran over, breathless and grass-stained. Liam knelt down, looking at all 3 of them. His son who'd learned to smile again, this little girl who'd brought chaos and joy into their ordered existence, and the woman who'd saved him by letting him save her. "We're a pretty good team, right? The 4 of us." "The best team," Sophie declared. "Nobody beats us." Liam pulled out the ring, heard Nora's sharp intake of breath. "What if we made it official?" He looked at Nora, his eyes saying everything words couldn't. "What if we became a real family? Nora Bennett, will you marry me?" Nora's hand flew to her mouth. Tears streamed down her face, but she was smiling, radiant, joyful, alive. "Yes," she whispered, then louder. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Eli whooped and tackled Liam in a hug. Sophie jumped up and down, not entirely understanding but caught up in the excitement. Nora kissed him, and it tasted like promises and second chances and home. The wedding was 6 months later on a crisp fall day. They kept it small, intimate. Just close friends and Mrs. Alvarez, who'd witnessed this whole journey from the beginning. The ceremony was outdoors, with leaves falling like confetti. Sophie walked down the aisle first as flower girl, her hair in perfect cornrows with beads, taking her job very seriously. Eli followed as ring bearer, grinning from ear to ear in his little suit. Then Nora appeared, and Liam forgot how to breathe. She was beautiful in a simple white dress that complemented her brown skin perfectly, her natural hair styled in an elegant updo. But more than that, she was whole, healed, strong. When it came time for vows, Liam's voice was thick with emotion. Nora, you taught me that broken doesn't mean beyond repair. You showed me that it's okay to live again, not just exist. You gave my son back his laughter and gave me back my heart. I promise to choose you every single day, in the good times and the hard ones. Because you're worth choosing. You're worth everything. Nora was crying openly now. Liam, you showed me that home isn't a place. It's people who choose to love you when you have nothing left to offer. You taught me that accepting help isn't weakness, and that letting someone in doesn't mean losing yourself. I promise to be your partner, your equal, your home, for all the days we have. The officiant barely finished pronouncing them husband and wife before they kissed, to cheers and laughter. That evening, after the small reception, after the kids were finally asleep, both of them piled into Eli's room because they were too excited to sleep alone. Liam and Nora sat on their porch one more time. Do you ever think about that night? The rain? Every day. I think about how easily I could have driven past. How for 4 years I'd been driving past life itself. I'd given up, Nora admitted, her fingers intertwined with his. Sitting there in that shelter, I couldn't see any way forward. I was just empty. She turned to look at him. You gave me back hope. You gave Sophie a home. You gave us a future. Liam pulled her closer. You did the same for us. This house was a tomb before you came. Eli and I were ghosts haunting our own lives. You made it okay to live again. Through the window, they could hear Eli's voice drifting from his room. And then the knight and the princess and the dragon all became best friends and lived happily ever after. Nora laughed softly. Our son has quite the imagination. Our son. The word settled like a benediction. Liam thought about that rainy Tuesday 3.5 years ago. How he'd stopped for a stranger. How that stranger had become his everything. We saved each other, he said quietly. Yeah, Nora agreed, resting her head on his shoulder. We did. They sat in comfortable silence under the stars. Two people who'd learned that sometimes the darkest nights lead to the brightest dawns, that sometimes hope looks like a stranger stopping in the rain, that family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about choice, about showing up, about loving fiercely even when you're afraid, about being broken together and finding wholeness in the pieces. Liam Carter stopped on a rainy Tuesday thinking he was helping a desperate stranger. He didn't know he was saving himself. 3.5 years later, 4 broken pieces had become one whole family. Their story wasn't about perfect timing. It was about patient healing, about second chances, about the grace we find when we're brave enough to let hope in again. If this story reminded you that it's never too late to begin again, share it with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe to TribeAfriTales for more stories that remind you your story isn't over yet. Sometimes the best chapters are still unwritten, waiting for that one moment of courage when you choose to stop, to see, to help, to love. Because sometimes saving someone else is exactly how you save yourself.